I've been doing a lot of soul searching late last year, and I realized a lot of things regarding my religious beliefs. Without getting too personal, I am a witch and I use tarot cards as a source of divination. As a kid, I've always been drawn to the occult and tarot. A large reason for me getting into it is because of the artwork itself. It has the appeal of not only being iconic, but also conveying complex ideas if you look intuitively or as a small detail from the artist. New Age witchcraft has become popular in recent years. It's not surprising to see that tarot cards, specifically tarot card readings, are also seeing a rise as well, especially on YouTube. However, there are still a lot of misconceptions about them and what they truly do. What doesn't help either is that the environment surrounding tarot cards and learning about them is rather restricted. Yes, you do get to learn the meanings behind the cards, however, there's not much to know about the history, let alone the art behind it. This video will be a comprehensive guide to tarot and some of the history behind it as well. Before we start, here's a quick disclaimer. This video will not be a guide to learning the meanings of tarot cards. This is an overview on the history and art behind it. If you are curious to learn, I do have resources down below. I am fully aware that the topic of religion is very volatile. However, the only thing I ask is that you are respectful of people's religious views and beliefs. You don't have to agree, but at least try to understand where we're coming from. Tarot cards can be traced back to the 15th century, where they started out as playing cards for the game Triumphi. These cards came accompanied with not only 4 suits, but also trump cards. Tarot as we know it came later in the 18th century. Many people try to find hidden meanings within these trump cards. With the help of Antoine Claude de Gébelin, he would link tarot cards with Egypt. He also claimed that the Catholic Church knew about the power of these cards, but they kept it secret. Later, a man who went under the publishing name of Attilia published one of the very first card decks that was designed for readings. This is where tarot really started to mold into tools of divination. Tarot as a divination source remained popular, but it wasn't quite yet done. This would change in 1909 when Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith published the most popular deck in existence, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. What made this deck stand out was that every card was loaded with symbolism and corresponding imagery that made it easier for people to practice readings. Just as a side note, if you own a tarot card deck, it will most likely be based off the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The reason for this is because the deck is under public domain. What that means is that there's no copyright set on it and everyone can appropriate it however they want. Now that we know the history of tarot, we can finally break down the cards. Starting with the major arcana, these are the cards that everyone thinks of in terms of tarot, and for good reason. These are cards that are used to depict more significant events in a person's life. Starting with the Fool, they take a leap of faith and start the journey. Many allies are made, such as the Hermit, but there are many challenges that they run into, such as the Devil. The Tower is when the Fool falls, but with the help of the Star, they are able to pass from night to day and finally answer their inner calling. And soon, we reach to the end with the World card. While the major arcana has had relevance in the mainstream media, the minor arcana is the meat and potatoes of tarot. Unlike major arcana cards, which deal with significant events, minor arcana cards deal with the everyday struggles of life. In the minor arcana, there are 4 suits. Wands, which corresponds with fiery passion and creativity. Cups, which corresponds with water and emotions. Swords, which corresponds with air and mental well-being. And Pentacles, which corresponds with earthly possessions and finances. There are 14 cards for each suit with the numbers 1, Ace, through 10, and 4 court cards, pages, knights, queens, and kings. Tarot card readings go like this. The medium, or person, asks a question regarding a situation and needs advice to solve it. The medium then calls upon spirit, or whichever higher being, and they draw cards. The most popular tarot card spread is the 3-card spread. Usually it is read in the context of past, present, and future. That's not the only way it can be read, though. It can also be read as you, your love interest, and possible outcome, or your problem, the source of it, and a solution to said problem. There are also other spreads as well, such as the Celtic Cross. I recommend starting out with the basic 3 card spread so that you can be not only more comfortable with the cards, but to not overwhelm yourself from having to read too many. The bread and butter to tarot card readings is the artwork itself. As I mentioned before, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is the most popular tarot deck in existence. A large reason for it is because of its public domain status. Another reason is because of the simple symbolism behind these cards. Believe it or not, there are also deeper meanings behind these cards based on correspondences and even zodiac signs. A good example of a correspondence would be the Magician. On the Magician's table, there is a shield with a pentacle on it, a sword, and a cup. He holds a wand as if he is casting a spell. As you may recall, there are 4 suits in the minor arcana, those suits being wands, pentacles, cups, and the swords. Since these cards are highly symbolic, there can be various meanings behind these cards. For example, the Hierophant card depicts a recurring theme of 2. There are 2 pillars, 2 keys crossing each other, and 2 people beneath said Hierophant. Speaking of which, both of his arms are up and his left hand has 2 fingers sticking out. One of the best pieces of advice to reading tarot is to look at the cards and try finding deeper meaning within these cards. If you're still struggling, don't worry. There are plenty of resources and guides for you to help you understand their meanings better. There's a lot more, however, listing more examples and meanings would make this video very redundant. One major aspect of the history that I skimmed over was what each person believes as to what tarot is supposed to represent. The problem is that the myriad interpretations brought by Waite-Smith, Eliphas Levi, and Aleister Crowley are very extensive and require an entire video dedicated to them. I recommend these sources if you want to start somewhere. With that being said, I hope this video taught you guys a few things, and I encourage you to look into it. Have a good night.